You know when you're in a conversation and you're trying to think so hard of what to say, but because you're thinking so hard of what to say, you have nothing to say. And because you have nothing to say, you start to get a bit embarrassed. You start to feel a bit awkward. And because you're starting to feel awkward, you start to go red. And then because you're starting to go red, you start to get even more awkward. And then you're thinking, what the hell do I do now? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how that situation will never happen to you ever again. So you have a limited supply of ideas when it comes to conversations, whether that is networking, whether that's speaking to new people, or whether that's just normal conversations with your friends. But by following this strategy, it will allow you to have conversations that flow effortlessly. And if you want a little bit more guidance on top of this video of things you can say in these conversations and these situations, and you want to learn how you can actually say it so they will listen, check out the link below. All I ask for is your email. You're going to put your email in and I will send over the information. First of all, you need to realize the reason that you're going blank, it's not because you're doing something wrong or other people are more confident. It's because you're asking yourself the wrong question. You're thinking when you're going blank, what do I say? Like when you get to a conversation, you meet a new person or you're networking for work, you're immediately thinking, what do I say? Now that is not a specific question. That is very vague. It's too big. There's too many answers. And because there's so many answers, it's too overwhelming. We need to get specific on the questions we ask ourselves to create questions when we are talking to individuals. And these questions are going to make them talk about themselves. And when someone talks about themselves, they start to open up more. And when they open up more, they give chances for you to loop into the conversation. It's called conversational threading. You know those people you speak to and it just flows. It's just effortless. You don't even have to try. Just questions, different topics, they come out of nowhere. And it's because you and that person are able to thread the conversation. You are threading from topic to topic and it just all merges together. And when you go blank, it's because you can't thread a conversation together. By following this little framework I'm going to show you, it's going to make it easier to thread conversations together so you can get into the meat of your conversation and you can get through this small talk without feeling awkward. And you're going to do this through something called CATSI. CATSI stands for complement, ask, talk, similarities, and introduce. Let's start with complement. I'm going to make this one complement and clues. We'll start with the complement. Observe. That's the main thing here. Observe something about the individual. Have they got a nice tie on? Have they got a unique style? Are they wearing cool shoes? Like something that is unique to them, but complement something to do with them. Because now it's a unique sentence. And as well as that, you can use clues. Clues about the environment. What is happening around you? Is it nice weather? Is someone doing a weird dance? Is the shopping really expensive here? Anything that is about the environment makes it unique to that situation. That's how you can build your small talk. Observe things around you and just comment on it. And ask it, which is the next section, as an open question. Because if we start doing closed questions, there's nothing to expand upon. It's a yes or no. What can you thread from a yes or no question? Because going back to what I said earlier, you want to be able to thread this conversation together so it's effortless. I'll give you an example. I was in the gym 4 days ago. There's a pretty attractive lady that was in the gym. I've seen her quite a few times. And I didn't want to be the classic person that goes up and just goes, oh, you're really pretty. Instead, I created a bit of curiosity through the Zeigarnik effect. I opened a loop. She's next to me in the gym. She's lifting weights, but she always does a leg day. I see her in the gym 5 times a week and at least 4 days she's doing a leg day. I literally just go, what's your secret? And she's like, what? What do you mean, what's your secret? It's a question that creates curiosity because the next bit is the question that's open. It's an open question. I then went, how do you do so many leg days a week and not get DOMs? And that was the initial starting question for the conversation. That then built a conversation where we were speaking for 5 minutes, the next day 10 minutes, the next day 15 minutes, and it flowed from there. I didn't just go up and give her a closed question straight away. I created some sort of curiosity and gave her an open question. And then we got onto other aspects of our life after that. But if you can ask these open questions and create some sort of curiosity with them, you're off to a good starting point. Now after that, we've got the talk. It's engaged depending on what they say. There's nothing worse than asking a question, getting an answer, and just going onto a completely new question. It's sentence, full stop, sentence, full stop, sentence, full stop. Really, we need commas. We need to carry this on. We need to thread this together. If you don't thread the conversation together and engage on their answers, they're going to know you're not listening. And then that's when it's going to start getting a bit awkward. Going on to the next one. Similarities. Common ground. That's the main thing here. Look for the common ground in these situations. This is where environment can be a good one. Are you in the gym? That is your first bit of common ground. You both go to the gym, you're both active. That's something you can talk about. If you're at a networking event, it could be, what sales strategies do you like to utilize more? Like, once you're into the initial stages of the conversation, you've passed that, you can go into this common ground and get a little bit more into their interests. One of my favorite ones, I look for cauliflower ears because I have cauliflower ears. And if they have cauliflower ears, they most likely fight. And then if they fight, there's so much things we can talk about. We can talk about the UFC, we can talk about how many fights you've had, we can talk about how much training you've done, we can talk about jiu-jitsu, we can talk about boxing. There's so many different things I can talk about if they have cauliflower ears. And that is common ground. And the whole thing with this section is to find something that you both enjoy and you both like. So then the ideas come left, right, and center. Let's say if you got me to talk about science, I wouldn't have a bloody clue. I wouldn't have much to say in the conversation. But if you asked me to talk about fitness, you asked me to talk about MMA, I've had loads of stuff to talk about. Or traveling, I'll have loads of stuff to talk about. So when I'm talking to men, they like to talk about fighting a lot more. When I'm talking to women, they'll like to talk about traveling a lot more. And it's something that you can use as common ground. Then when you've done these 4 sections, they don't have to be in order, they can be in any order that you want. You can introduce yourself, ask for their name, make the connection first, then get their name, get their contact details. It all depends on the environment you're in. You might have business cards, it might be getting someone's number, it might be getting someone's Instagram. But make a connection first, then introduce yourself, then get some sort of contact details after that, especially if you're working in business and you're networking from there. But the main thing that I look for when I'm making conversations with randomers that I've never spoke to before, whether that's speaking to people whilst I'm traveling, whether that's networking for business, whether that's even trying to chat up a woman, I just look to observe. That's my main thing. This is a framework that I've learned before and it works pretty well. But the main concept that I got from this is observing and threading the conversation. First, I observe something in the environment, something about them, something that is different. I then thread the conversation through asking open questions, through talking, through looking for similarities. And then once I feel like I have a decent enough connection, I can introduce myself properly, get their name, get their contact details, and go from there. And then once you've passed this small talk, you can then get into the meat of the conversation. If you can master the small talk, you can create more business opportunities than you ever thought was possible. Because we know you're probably good at the meat of the conversation about your topic, about your expertise. But that initial stage of introducing yourself and getting past that small talk is a hurdle. But if you can follow these steps, you will create more business opportunities than you thought was ever even possible. Now, like everything, if you don't work towards it and you don't put action towards it, you will not improve in this avenue. That is why you can't just listen to this video and expect to never freeze in conversations ever again. You need to work. You need to put action into play. And one thing that you can do to do that is work on it when you go shopping. Whenever I go shopping, there's someone that stands in front of me and there's someone that stands behind me. Speak to them. Observe something about the environment. Observe something about their shopping basket. Observe something about what they are wearing. But just start a conversation and start talking and then try and get the name and introduce yourself. Simple as that. Even if you don't want anything from the conversation. You just have to put the reps in order to get better at improvising and spontaneous speech. Whenever you're in a situation where you can speak to a randomer, do it. If you do this every single day when you see someone and you think you can start a conversation and you speak to them, when it comes to the times when it actually counts and it actually matters and it's actually got money on the line and opportunities on the line, you'll be able to close those deals because you made the connection early on. And if you want some other communication tips, check out the link below. All I ask for is your email. Put your email in, I will send you this over. And if you get the link below, you'll be able to communicate in a way where you don't freeze on the spot, whether that is in conversations or in business. You don't sound boring. You can create a story that people want to listen to and not that you just want to tell. And you can create deeper connections that will lead to more opportunities in your life. And like I said, that's completely free. That is the link below. YouTube's also a pretty smart bugger, so you may want to watch this one here.